Cormac Cullinan is a lawyer from Cape Town, South Africa, and the author of the pioneering book Wild Law, a manifesto for Earth justice. The book calls for an Earth jurisprudence which places human legal systems within the context of the laws of nature, leading to a more democratic human participation in a community of all life. Cormac Cullinan is a leader in the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, and he played an important role in drafting the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth.
The question of the recognition of the rights of nature is part of a much bigger effort, because we humans are part of nature. We share the same evolutionary history as every other thing that has come into being and that is part of this planet. And as Thomas Berry said, despite the fact that we like convincing ourselves that we are separate from nature or superior to nature, we are so integral to nature that we are more accurately described as an aspect of this earth rather than anything different to it. We are part of it. Now, I think that if one looks at the significant crises of our time, most of which are characterized as environmental crises, climate change and so forth, they arise because of human behavior. And that human behavior is based on the false understanding, the delusion, if you like, that we are separate from nature and that our role on this planet is to subdue and dominate nature, and that the best way to increase human well-being is through exploiting all the other beings on the planet. Now, in order to change that, it is necessary to shift the consciousness, if you like, of the dominant industrial civilizations to the recognition which has existed for most of human history, that our well-being depends on us maintaining healthy relationships with the other members of the community, both human and other than human. And one of the ways of shifting that is by drawing attention to the way our societies have been structured, and law and legal systems are at the heart of that. So the issue of the rights of nature is important in shifting this consciousness and in restructuring societies themselves, because if you say that to a lawyer, it sounds absurd, because we have been trained that the only possible holders of rights are human beings and what we call juristic persons or legal persons such as corporations. That means everything else on the planet, every other being, by that I mean mountain or river or species, that which has come into being, that which exists, is defined as property or a thing. Now, once something is property in the eyes of the law, it's incapable of holding rights. So when we define people as slaves, they didn't have rights and they could be bought and sold. Now, if you think about the relationship between the slave owner as the subject with all its legal rights and the slave as an object, as property, you can see that you've hardwired in an exploitative relationship between the two. The slave owner will always exploit the slave, and the slave is powerless to resist, because without rights you cannot use the machinery of the state or of social forces to protect yourself. And that is exactly the same relationship that we have hardwired between humans and corporations on the one hand and the rest of the planet, the rest of this magnificent community of life that we're part of. So by raising the issue of the rights of nature, one challenges, first of all, the assumption that we are the only subjects, because it means that nature must be a subject. It must be. It must have volition of its own. And as soon as there are two subjects, humans and nature, or different beings within nature, we enter the language of relationship and relatedness. And so that shifts the paradigm. The other important thing about rights of nature is that it addresses the structural problems with society. Because, for example, I am a white South African who grew up in apartheid South Africa. And interestingly, apartheid is the Afrikaans word for separateness. It is the same thinking that we're talking about here. In that case, the idea was that the best way for white community or portion of the white community to flourish was to deny rights to the rest of the community and to exploit them. And that's exactly the same, that's directly analogous to what we're talking about here. And the only way for South Africa to begin the road towards health was to recognize rights for all of the members of the community so that the relationships can be negotiated, and that one has a negotiated relationship and relatedness, and also the possibility of the community healing is there. And that is directly analogous to what has to happen in this situation. Until we recognize that we need to change how we relate to nature, both personally and individually, but also at the structural level, we'll have problems. Because under apartheid, even if you weren't a racist person, the structure of society made it difficult for you to have black friends, for example, white friends if you were black, because you lived in separate areas, you were in separate schools, etc., etc. So the structure of society is also important. So it's a long way of saying that rights of nature is important for two very significant reasons: to change how we understand the world and our role as humans within it, and to change the structures of society to enable the humans to heal their relationships with the natural world.
Cormac Cullinan notes that all the environmental treaties, laws, and policies of the past generation haven't even slowed down the destruction of the planet. So what needs to change isn't just the laws, it's our understanding of the nature and purpose of law and governance. That need for a renewal in our relationship with the natural world is a constant theme in the interviews we've been doing about the rights of nature. We've heard it also in our interviews with legal philosophers like David Boyd and John Burroughs, and we've seen that a refreshed understanding of our place in the world would bring us close to the views shared by Indigenous people everywhere. These are deep but beautiful waters, and we'll continue to explore them. For the Green Interview, I'm Silver Donald Cameron.